The top panel of the freeze dryer is the easiest to remove. Just grab it on the back and just give it a quick little pull and it comes right out. To remove the side panels, there's a screw down in this corner and then the screw back in this corner. In the test that Harvest Right recommends to do, in testing the relay, they suggest that you take your wires from whatever relay may be in question and carry them over to the drain relay and then test the function through the switch on the front of the panel. Only problem is the drain relay is already energized, so that any test you want to perform as soon as you carry over the wires is automatically going to be energized. The relay test that Harvest Right provides is a good video, but it's also more suited for their older models of machines. Now, on the newer models machines, if you touch the leaf icon, that will put you into your function tests. So if I go ahead and press each individual function test on the front of the panel, for example, this is the freezer. Now when I hit the freezer button, the green LED under freezer will light up. And not only does it light up, but you can also hear that the refrigeration unit will start up. And the same can be said if we go to the vacuum pump. Now, the vacuum pump is not hooked up right now, but you'll see the green light illuminate when it's turned on. So you can see the green light turning on. If my vacuum pump was hooked up, you'd hear the vacuum pump turn on. So we're going to go ahead and turn that off. And then, of course, the problem with the mid-batch heater error, if I go ahead and turn the heaters on, you'll see this green light illuminate. So this is a relay that is bad. Now, if I wait about 20 seconds or so, this light will actually go out. So the relay is engaged, but it will not stay engaged and will lose its contacts. The second problem I was having with the heater relay is if I put a probe, a temperature probe, inside the second tray down, where this is the same tray where the thermistor is located, then I will also get this unusual oscillation that the temperature will go up to the max 150 degrees Fahrenheit for about 2.5 minutes, and then will drop down to 61 degrees for 40 seconds, and then back up to 150 for 2.5, back down to 161 for 40. So this was doing some really strange things. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the heater here. Now if I go over to the drain and turn on the drain, so now the drain is turned on and the light is actually turned off. The relay test can still be performed by using this drain relay. Now a couple of things to be safe with. Don't rely upon the LED up here just being off. You should always probe these two connections to make sure that they're de-energized. Once these are de-energized, then you can move any of the wires here or here or here over to this one and plug them in. And then you can go ahead and energize this relay by using the touch screen. Touch screen may say off or on, but what you need to really go on is by the LED here. So on my unit, with the new wiring they have on the new Harvest Right units, when the touch screen is off, this relay is on. When the touch screen shows on, this relay is off. So it's kind of backwards. But like I said, just check the voltage here before you move anything over, or else you will get an electrical shock if you touch these, because you could be plugging these wires here into an energized relay. So make sure the relay is truly turned off before you transfer any wires. So it's doing exactly opposite. So right now the drain should be on, the light is off. If I turn the drain off, it turns on. These relays are normally open relays and shouldn't be energized until they're on. So I'm going to go ahead and power down the circuit board, and I'm going to go ahead and unplug it to de-energize everything, and then I'm going to go ahead and switch this out. And this is exactly like what the Harvest Right video suggests you to do, is move one wire at a time over to the new circuit board. So I have the new circuit board, and they're heavier than I thought they would be. So we're just going to kind of move this in here, and at one at a time we're going to go ahead and transfer the wires over to the new one, which is pretty simple. Okay, these two wires down here is the actual power coming into the system. We're going to do those last just so we don't power up the board for any particular wrong reason here. Okay, so we're going to first go with the spare relay, and these are in there pretty darn tight. And next is the heater relay. And then the vacuum relay. And from the original video it said that these relays have no polarity, so it really doesn't matter how they land, but I like to do it exactly how they had it hooked up originally. And then they call this the condenser relay, but I guess it's just a refrigeration unit, but it does have a condenser. So all the relays have been swapped over. Now we have this little white one right here, and it is marked, well, they really don't mark that, but it says 3.3 volts. We're going to pull that out of the fray, and that goes right down in there. And then we have this little black one here. I'm just using a screwdriver to help lift these out of the way. I really do not want to pull on those end wires in case one happens to be pulled all the way out of the connector. And then we have the black hot wire and the neutral. The ribbon wire right here. Just going to gently raise this up and off. And we'll just push that ribbon wire right into place there. In the original Harvest Right video, they had two grounding wires going to this chassis right here. This one, the newer model, only has one. But this has to be removed. And it's not that we have to remove it because we don't need to transfer the wire over. It's because of an unusual design that Harvest Right did, and I'll show you here, that makes this job a real pain. So right here is is basically a brass screw, and it's brass. It's not iron, or it's not steel. And underneath it is a brass nut. If you unscrew this, there's a good chance the nut is going to fall down and way down to the bottom of the condenser. And because it's not made out of steel, you cannot pick it up with a magnet. I've learned that lesson once before. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to take out the nut here, and we're going to have to remove this side panel, which is not going to be that difficult, except your drain hose is down below it. So we're just going to pull this up and come back a ways, and then right here is 2 screws holding this metal plate in, and these have to come out. In order to remove the relay circuit board, you need to remove this screw, and that requires taking down the side panel. To remove the side panel, there's going to be 1 screw coming out this way. Once this screw is removed, the panel can be moved backwards enough so you can get access to these 2 screws here. And while you have this panel off, it'd be a good time to clean the condenser to remove any lint that may be here. If you buy an inexpensive hairbrush, that is a good tool to clean the fins on the condenser. Note of caution on the circuit board. There is 1, 2, 3 plastic tabs that hold the circuit board into place, and these just will snap off. But over here on this corner we have a brass screw that goes through the circuit board, through a spacer, to a brass nut behind it. Now, when you take this screw out and unscrew the nut to remove the circuit board, you got to be careful not to drop this, because this is the brass screw. If you lose it down in here, it won't be able to be picked up with a magnet. So that is one of the little problems. And also remember that you have the little spacer in here, and not to lose that. So we have to take 4 screws out to get to a brass nut. It would have been nice if this would have just been a self-tapping screw, but I think what they wanted, I'm not sure why they put it there. I think that's to ground the circuit board. And you can see that everything just kind of dropped as soon as this other screw was out. So now I can lift this whole assembly up and out of the way. Okay, so we got this out of the way. You can see the nut and brass screw down here. So the best way of doing that is putting your screwdriver here, flipping this over, and with your finger holding this nut, go ahead and take back out the screw, but make sure you keep your finger on that nut so it doesn't drop. So it's kind of really hard to get to, and I think this is the only pain that I don't understand why Harvest Right did it this way. Okay, so there's the nut, and I got my finger on the screw. So the screw is actually placed in the circuit board. So if we put everything kind of back into position here, okay, so that's the old circuit board, and it's out of the way. So this is the thing that was causing us all the pain, that we had to take out the side panel and 4 screws to get to the nut underneath. Okay, so this is our new circuit board. So we're just going to move this over on top of the shelf here and snap it into place. And we're going to take this screw, the brass one here, and we're going to back it out of the circuit board. And this will okay, that's out of place. So we're going to put this back in. And then we're going to go ahead and take this and just the same way we took it off, we're going to put it back in. So we've got the two side screws here and the two screws here, and we're going to go ahead and put those back into place. Now as I'm putting these mounting screws back into place, don't just get them started, but don't tighten them all up, because you might need a little bit of slop to make sure all the other holes are going to be lined up. Okay, I got all my screws back in place, so the two side screws over here are put in. These two screws and the grounding wire is attached to the chassis. So I'm going to go ahead and power this up and we'll see what happens. Underneath this shelf is the start capacitor, and this start capacitor goes down to the compressor. Now in the older models of the Harvest Right freeze dryer, there's actually some blade contacts on the top that protrude on the start capacitor. Now the capacitor is like a little storage device that stores up energy so that when you turn on the compressor to freeze down the chamber, this will all of a sudden give a little surge of electricity to get the compressor running. And because it does store electricity, if this is charged and if you touch the contacts, you can actually get a mild electrical shock. Now in the newer freeze dryers, the contacts are not exposed, which is a nice thing. But if you have an older freeze dryer where the contacts are exposed, before you end up handling this, what you need to do is get a screwdriver. Now if this had the exposed electrical connections, you just get a screwdriver and put it across the terminals to discharge the capacitor. Once it's discharged, then there won't be a problem with you handling it and there won't be any electrical shock. I'd like to give you just a little bit of a tip on how to install these side panels. Down here on the corner is a tab here and a tab down here. And if you were to take a look at these, they actually have a little bit of a slot right here. So that's important to remember, a slot on each side. Those slots will have to go in this rounded corner here and the rounded corner there. Bring this up to a 45 degree. You can take these slots and just slide that right underneath that one on that side, and over on this side the same thing, just like that. So, and then what you can do is give this just a little bit of a bump and send it all the way that direction. Bring it up all the way. Once you raise this up, there are little tabs that need to go into slots on this corner right here. So once you have this up, you just have to give this kind of a good little thump, and you can see where this goes right into place. And then you can go ahead and put your screw up here in the top corner, and then your screw down there in that corner. When it comes to assembling your freeze dryer, just put the tabs in the matching slots on top of the panel and just give this a little bit of a bump forward. The panel is ready to install, and it's the heaviest of all the panels, and I suggest just putting a single screw into the top here just to hold everything into place. Let the panel hang from your screw and just go around and put the rest of the screws in, but don't tighten them all until all the screws are in place. Once all the screws are in place, do the final tightening.